I got Shives. I got Shives on it.
Asshole. And yet he was
Okay,
rewarded
I'm
for
going to pull a
that.
Dave Rubin and let's talk free
His
speech with this
assholish
friggin' clueless
tendencies were overlooked.
monkey. Snowflakes and free speech. Oh, God. Oh, look at him.
There's an excellent op-ed published today in the New York Times. This is it right here. It's called What Snowflakes Get Right About Free Speech, and it's by Ulrich Baer, and I cannot recommend it to you highly enough. In the piece, Ulrich Baer describes how these student protesters who have come out to
okay, he finds an
stand
article
against
and he's super excited
speakers
because
such as Milo
he believes in this
Yiannopoulos.
article, so he's going to platform this article. He's going to hide behind whatever this guy said, right? So it's total regressive nonsense. They're trying to spin who's the good guy and who's the bad guy, who's the proponent of free speech. Now, they talk about telling a lie. They say if you want to convince somebody of a lie, tell a big lie. Okay, just be audacious with it. Just like, yeah, so the people who are pro free speech are the people shutting other people's free speech down. That's what he's about to try to peddle off on us. And he says the people who went to stand against Milo Yiannopoulos, who else? Right, the two white guys. And watch how he labels these people. It's incredible.
Or,
the word
Richard
Nazi
Spencer.
comes up, and probably within the first minute. So they stand against. Well, listen to the verb. No, give me the verb. Okay, they did not come out to stand against. They came out to throw fireworks, light fires, cause violence, pepper spray people, and shut down the event. Take away their right to speak in a cowardly and fearful move. So it's not just going out there saying, hey, I disagree, here's my disagreement. No, it's violence, it's rioting, it's a mob technique. This is like what the mafia would do. It'd just be like, no, shutting it down. We're using violence now. Okay, so he's already mischaracterized it.
Speakers such as Milo Yiannopoulos or Richard Spencer in recent weeks and months at college campuses across the United States.
Attacked and vilified. They are literally the ones attacking.
Attacked and vilified.
And it's not the right. And once again, just I am on the left, a Hillary Clinton supporter. Okay, on every issue, I'm on the left. Every single issue. And I'm saying that this guy's a fucking clueless shit. Now, unlike people like Rubin who they don't see the difference. Like Rubin looks at a guy like me and Steve Shives, he can't make heads or tails of it. He goes, well, I mean, the left is Steve Shives. That's got to be the left. I can make money making fun of Steve Shives. I can't make money criticizing the ideas of Devin because he's right. And he's on the left. Confused yet?
As being anti-free speech or putting their own feelings and their own sensitivities ahead of stalwart principles of the republic, like free speech, are snowflakes.
Yes. This is a very simple concept. Everybody has the right to free speech. And it's like almost every generation. I guess this is just part of the process of re-educating society, where you have to, you're raised with, oh yeah, America's the land of the free, and you get told that growing up, and you're like, yeah, but what does it mean? What? Like, I've never been outside of America. Like, I don't get it. We're free to do what? Like, I can't do anything. There's certain things I can't do. But then you have to learn again for yourself what it actually means. Come to Germany, live in Germany, and go try to express ideas and thoughts online or in public like you could in America. They will arrest you. Okay? The leader of Pegida was arrested for hate speech, put in jail. Okay, like this is crazy. So it's actually wildly important, and it's this kind of muddying. It's not even muddying. He's taking a shit on free speech. This is what needs to be called out, and the reason it should be called out is twofold. A, he should know better. Is he educated? I don't know. He never talks about his college, and if it was a shit college, I guarantee you. This is a guy who has no work experience. His one job he had in his entire life was working maintenance, cleanup. He would clean up bathrooms at a truck stop. That's his expertise. That's where this guy comes from. Okay, but now he's going to tell us about free speech and why it's okay that he can tell you who's allowed to talk.
studying instead of going out and hitting the streets and protesting people like Spencer or Yiannopoulos. Bear argues really, really persuasively and really articulately that it is actually those folks, the so-called snowflakes,
the apologists and defenders of who?
Speech, not the
of people who want to talk, of the actual concept of free speech. It doesn't even matter what the people are saying. As long as they're not making threats of violence, there's some obvious exceptions. But aside from that, it could be anybody. Okay, so the speaker could be a TED Talk guy talking about artificial intelligence or the space program. It doesn't matter. Okay, the argument would be the exact same. And no, even though it makes you feel good inside that in what way is he going to connect the dots that the people shutting down people's right to speak are the proponents of free speech? That is a fat lie. It's amazing. But look at the glee. Look at the chubby hobbit cheeks of this man. That he's like, look, I knew I was a superhero. I'm wearing my Batman underwear. Okay, so there's the dog whistle for the deplorable people, Spencer and Yiannopoulos. Okay, so is this a Trump thing? First of all, Spencer is protesting Trump, so he is not in favor of Trump. He used Trump, and the guy put it really well in Sam Harris's last podcast. The guy who wrote the bell curve, he said that many of the Trump voters do not like Trump. They recognize the guy's a shit, but they didn't like the establishment and the PC culture and some of the ideas and actions of the far left so much that they used Trump like a murder weapon. And that was a fantastic analogy because it rings true. They bludgeoned the American system to death. And it was like the weapon of choice was Trump in the library, with the candlestick holder. It was, we got fucked. Oh yeah, hate monger. Ignorance and intolerance. Okay, so once again, now we start to get into the danger zone because people in glass houses should not chuck rocks, I believe the expression goes. So you are saying that Richard Spencer and Milo are hate mongers? First of all, I would disagree with that. I just criticized Spencer's speech in great detail at Auburn, and that guy's, he's a wannabe actor. He's a performance artist. The guy's just for whatever. He's trivial. Laugh at him. That's the correct reaction. Laugh at him. The correct reaction to somebody speaking an idea that you don't like is what the Mormons did in reaction to the musical The Book of Mormon, which is a fantastic musical. Now, they don't like the fact that they're being mocked. The entire musical is mocking their religion. Now, it did it in a very respectful, reverential. Is that a word? Is that a word? Reverential? Dude, I'm having like a vivid dream right now. I don't even know where I am. Anyway, it was like a love letter to religion because these guys came from religion and they poked fun at it, but it was done in such a way that, look, these guys bought ads in the playbill. And they were like, look, you come join our religion. You're here. We're talking about Mormonism. If you want to come check out the real thing, we're right here. No, they didn't shut it down. They did not protest. They did not set those dudes on fire. They did not put out a fatwa. None of that. They actually let both arguments be presented. And here's the other thing. Rogan talks about this. He's like, look, here's the best way to combat free speech or ideas you don't like. Debate them. No, that's not even necessary. Like, you can try to debate people, but they're not under any obligation to debate you. Just have your own rally. Have your own speech. Make your own video. Okay? You don't have to shut somebody down. You don't have to heckle them. Let them speak. Stop being a pussy. Let people think for themselves. Present your ideas. Go wild. But people are in a panic about it all. For some reason, because college campuses, that's where you're supposed to have a diversity of thought. You're supposed to have a bunch of ideas. You're supposed to consider new ideas. You're supposed to do this. There's supposed to be a circulation. This is healthy. But no, they want to enclose it, bubble it up. Yeah. Put your blinders on. Let's only talk about these things in this way. That's the narrative. And at a college campus where it's supposed to be higher learning, this is supposed to be a bastion of where we figure out what the best ideas are. And he wants to regulate that to the point where you don't even get to hear it. You don't even get to hear it. And he has no idea how it's platformed. Well, these people are best-selling authors. They're wildly popular. They have huge audiences. That's how it happens, Steve. Oh, Steve, a jump cut. I was getting bored and I was zoning off, but like you moved over here. And I'm like, whoa, where, what? And Steve, I know it's not that you just randomly drifted over there and had an edit. You did that intentionally because you think that we are so ADD'd out here that this is going to be like, whoa, check it out. Look at Steve. His fucking ugly mug is on the right side of the screen now. Wow, fascinating. Let me reset my attention span. The limited value of debates.
Ground. He talks about the limited
well, it could have been my point. I doubt it was my point, which is that you don't need to debate everybody every time. Just speak your mind in your own platform. But yeah, debates are not good because they can be volatile, and yeah, it turns to an ego competition, and you're trying to get laughs, and it's long form should be available. There should be multiple formats. That's retarded.
Talks about the idea that there are certain topics that really shouldn't be held up for public debate. That
you see the zits right here.
Universities shouldn't feel
three zits.
A responsibility to host
reminds
debates
me of a constellation, the Seven Sisters, I believe. It almost maps directly onto that constellation. Yeah. So certain topics we're not supposed to debate. Why not? Okay. Like for example, flat Earth. Or take a topic that's just dead in the water. Can you turn lead into gold? Okay, alchemy. Why not have a debate so? If you want to start a club at your college, and by the way, this is not like the university is fully behind these events. They're not saying we, the University of Berkeley or the University of Auburn, fully endorsed this speaker and everything he's about to say. That is never the case. It is usually a private club, just consenting adults that happen to be affiliated with the university loosely. They pay the university money. This is not a freaking freebie here. And they invite a speaker for whatever reason, their own reason, they want to do it. They might pay the speaker, whatever. That's handled with them. And they still step in and go, no, we're shutting it down. I mean, this is beyond cowardly. And it's also pointless, especially in the age of the internet. All of these people can take to the friggin' airwaves and get massive, massive audiences that will far exceed whatever even press or however many people they can fill a room with. I mean, good Lord. Are you really going to try to trace everybody down and be like, no, stop speaking. Stefan Molyneux, take his channel down. Milo, no, don't do a podcast. Please don't.
If there is a proposed debate or a proposed sort of implied debate, which is often the excuse
awful people. Yeah, he always says this. He goes, they're awful. Says Steve, you're awful. Uh-oh, now where are we at? Where are we at now? I think Steve's awful. He thinks Milo's awful. He thinks I'm awful. Okay, how about that? We'll just keep it symmetrical. I think you're awful, Steve. You think I'm awful. Which one of us should be able to speak? That's not a trick question. You should know the answer to that. In his mind, he has an answer. It's not the answer you thought of. He's got a different answer. And this is the beauty of it. His answer, and just try to stay with how simple-minded this is. His answer is, he thinks I should be able to Steve thinks Steve should be able to speak, and I should not because Steve thinks I'm awful. That's it. Now, if you present to them the idea that, Steve, I think you're awful, so shouldn't, by that logic, you not be able to speak? If, according to me, based off your plan, he wouldn't. His brain would melt. He would be like, "Well, no, but you're awful. I'm not. You're the one that's awful." Steve, not everybody thinks like you. But just entertain the notion that you're wrong. Not just about one thing, about a multitude of things. Now, take your self-centered nature, in which you think you are right on everything, shove it up your ass and let other people speak. Like every civilized person does. I let everybody speak. I'm not out there crusading. Shut them down. Don't let them talk. Kill that platform. Nope. Not happening. This guy, exact opposite.
the excuse made by people who, even by people who claim not to want to defend their ideology.
Yes, Steve,
they say, well, we need to hear them out because their ideas need to be heard in order to be argued about and rejected.
Yes, they do. What are you talking about?
Bear makes the point that
not only do they have new things to say, they have
Richard Spencer and Milo Yiannopoulos have nothing
interesting ways of saying them. And why do you think they have an audience? They have nothing new to say. I mean, what do you have that's new to say, aside from you trying to tell us why free speech isn't a thing? We don't even need it. And somehow, if you shut down free speech, then you are supporting free speech? That's your new idea? That's dumb.
And will not be informing anyone in the audience about their views or telling anyone anything that they haven't heard already.
Enabling, right? Like they're alcoholics, like we're just aiding and abetting a drug dealer, right, Steve? Well, Steve, what about the idea that people in a free country can do whatever they want and they have the ability to listen to whom they want and decipher and figure out for themselves if what the guy's saying is something they want to get behind or not? What about that? Maybe not everybody's heard these ideas. Maybe people have independence. Can we critique thoughts and speeches for ourselves, Steve? Or are you in control of that? Are you the czar of that? Shit. The intolerance. So the man is literally being intolerant of other people's right to speak. And he's talking about, I boo to intolerance. And he tries to solve that riddle later, where he's like, should we be intolerant of intolerance, that whole thing? He thinks that he is just, look, Steve knows better than you guys. Let Daddy Steve make the decision for you. You see, because he's against intolerance, but it gets tricky because he needs to be intolerant of people that he has labeled intolerant. Now, who is Milo intolerant of? Who is Spencer intolerant of? Those guys believe in free speech. Those guys are actually, they get it. They have principles on that front. They're not the ones doing they're not Antifa. So none of their behavior can be condemned on that issue. And so Steve is worse than those guys on this issue, and it's not even close. Jump cut.
Dangerous ideology. And I've linked to the piece.
Did you have a t-shirt that says science on it?
Of this video.
Fuck,
I urge all of you to go read it. But there is one particular passage that I want to share with you. Bear says, quote, the idea of freedom of speech
and outside of the very
permission to say anything
infrequent
anybody thinks.
And rare example of somebody threatening harm. There, and there might be a couple slight others like that, but overall, that yes, you can do and say anything.
It means balancing the inherent value of a given view with the obligation to ensure that other members of a given community can
balancing the inherent value of a given view. Who's balancing? Is it the individual? Is it you or is it me? Or is it society? That's the whole point. You're not going to make a decision for us, you smug bitch. And what is this? Meaningless. Ensure that other members of the given community can participate in discourse as fully recognized members of that community? What? So go ask Milo and Richard Spencer, who do you think should be allowed to give speeches at this university? And their answer will be anybody. Anybody. If you want to do it, go for it. If you want to go have a protest, go for it. If you want to make a video on YouTube, go for it. They are in favor of fully recognizing everybody, every community. Now, he's about to break out the trans people and gays and Latinx and Native American, like as if Milo is saying none of those people should be able to speak. It's not the case. He's so ass backwards on this.
Free speech protections not only, but
universities aim to educate students in how to belong to various communities. No, it doesn't.
And how to belong to various communities.
No, it just to educate students, period. End of story. This is like, sadly, in today's university, it does teach you how to become indoctrinated in identity politics, which is what this is, various communities. Yeah. So here's how you should belong to the marginalized community. Here's the talking points you should say. Yes, as a woman, here's what you should talk about. Talk about the wage gap and rape culture and do that. Yeah. No. And thanks for teaching us what university says. Who says freaking Ulrich Bear? You are going to tell us what a university is supposed to do? I think we're fully aware of it. God. Mm-hmm.
Communities should not mean that someone's humanity or their right to participate in political
someone's
speech
humanity. Nobody's challenging anybody's humanity.
Freely attacked,
you guys are the ones
or questioned,
violating their right to participate in political speech and political agents. What? Which aim to educate? Hold on. See if I'm getting this right. Free speech protections, not only but especially universities, which aim to educate students, should not mean that someone's humanity or their right to participate in political speech as political agents can be freely attacked, demeaned, or questioned. Okay, so this is a ghost. This is almost exact projection. You just described the very thing you're doing. List them. Oh yeah, you're great at this.
There also points out how
rattle that off.
The abilities of folks in marginalized
white people
groups, for instance, trans people.
Oh no, white people are doing great. Yeah, you're good.
People of color, undocumented immigrants, and the list goes on.
How have they been attacked? How are you justifying your deplatforming and your encouragement of violence and rioting against people who should have the ability to speak? How does that turn into trans and gays and people of color are under attack? Who? Where? How?
And that reminds me, as many things.
Yeah, here's the paradox of tolerance. He's about to bullshit you. Here's what is in essence happening. Steve wants to be intolerant before, and a lot of but he wants to also be tolerant. This is a problem for Steve. So Steve wants to decide who is the tolerant people of the world and who is intolerant. Intolerant translates loosely to somebody who disagrees with Steve. If you have a different idea than Steve, then you're labeled intolerant, and therefore you should be deplatformed. You see how language works? You see how easy it is? It's just like a math. It's like A plus B equals C. Okay, well, what is A? Well, A is anything you want it to be. Well, what is B? Well, yeah, just fill in the blank. It's a variable. Okay, then what's the answer? Well, it's always going to be C. Doesn't matter. A plus B equals C. You're intolerant. You don't get your right to free speech. So saith I, Steve. End of story. And in this case, the variable is whoever Steve doesn't like. If Steve thinks you're awful, that's the variable. Plug it in. It happens to be Milo and Richard Spencer today. Name drop. Thanks, Steve.
In case you haven't heard of the paradox of tolerance, it was stated most famously by Karl Popper, who said that if you want a truly...
Okay, so what do you mean intolerance?
Society,
a guy speaking is not intolerance. How?
Tolerant of is intolerant.
You are the only one in the equation being intolerant. The only one. Like Milo Yiannopoulos and Richard Spencer are not leaders. They do not have power. They're not passing laws. Okay, so the second you see them doing something like, hey, only men are allowed to go into pubs from now on, then you might have a case. A guy going up and talking about gay black jokes, that's having a different political opinion than you, that's not intolerance. You freak. You clueless fucking schmo. Oh.
The paradox is there can be no such thing as perfect tolerance. Because if you are tolerant of everything, including intolerance,
dumb and fucking stupid. And why don't you apply that logic to Islam, where Islam is an actual case of this, which people like you ignore. And notice his total lack of anti-Islam videos. He used to do them, then he became totally pussified, and now he's, the silence is deafening on this front. Where yes, to tolerate the policies that Islam hold in regards to women and gays and apostates, that is a problem. And you cannot tolerate that. And there's a very clear difference there. Okay, and what Islam does to those groups of people, you cannot apply that to speakers, innocent freaking speakers, like freaking Milo and Richard Spencer.
And you will wind up with a final product of an intolerant society, which was allowed to happen.
Yeah, believe that
in
you
the name
suck.
Of tolerance.
And
see, a lot of folks in
there's
the
a reason you don't have the likes, dislikes on this
especially believe that when
defending the rights of awful people, they're just people. So why don't
they
you,
are defending
stop
the rights
poisoning the well?
of awful people.
They're just
like
people,
Spencer
and it applies to anybody, and it applies to you, Steve. It applies to you right now. And Steve is on record saying he wants YouTube channels to be shut down. A channel like Bearings, any anti-feminist, he wants them all to be gone. Gone. He's sickened by the fact that they're popular, and he just would rather they be destroyed. This is the will of a guy who was cleaning up shit out of a toilet at a truck stop in Maryland, talking to a guy talking about niggers, and him being uncomfortable with it. This guy's brain, that he has no power. He has no power whatsoever. Okay, but in his secret, his dream world, you know what he wants. He wants to tell you how it's going to go. Steve is gonna. He is the leader, the dear leader. Oh, balding leader of ours. Please tell us. Neo-Nazis in the Ku Klux Klan come in at 4 minutes 42 seconds. What in the hell do they have to do with anything?
Like neo-Nazi groups.
Neo-Nazis and KKK. Huh? Oh, you're saying that in the same breath as Milo Yiannopoulos and Richard Spencer. Okay, great. You might have more of a case with Spencer. That guy's a bit of a freak, but who cares? He hasn't broken any laws, and he has the right to speak. Welcome to America, Steve. Oh, yeah. You're on record. 4 things he just said. 4 things distancing himself from racists.
Or white supremacists,
saying fuck whites.
Nationalist groups.
Now, he could have he should have said Nation of Islam, the Black Panthers, Black Lives Matter. He could have listed those. Did not. He did not. He said KKK, don't exist. They're absolutely insignificant. What else? The KKK, neo-Nazis. What the fuck? And white nationalists, white supremacists. Where do you think his mind's at?
To speak that they are doing something good.
Yeah, that seems incredibly reasonable. And they think, well, doesn't it, Steve?
I have to defend freedom of speech
you've got a bit
like
of a task on hand here.
How
are you going to refute that? How? Please, I'm all ears, Steve. Are you going to regurgitate, or do you have something new for us? Oh, okay. I see. He's about to say it's hard to achieve that. Watch this.
And that's a wonderful idea, and that's a wonderful concept.
In real life, you can't have free speech. You can't have the principle of free speech. He's given up on America. He's given up on the principles that founded this country. In real life, in other words, in Steve's wannabe life, in the version of his utopia, is he gets to tell you who gets to talk. Okay, because certain people Steve finds to be awful, certain people Steve disagrees with, and he needs to deplatform. Yeah, you're not allowed to talk. Sorry. I do agree that it's great to be tolerant and to have freedom, but in reality, I just don't like it when people talk. I don't like it, and I just want them to shut up. Yeah, we're all ears, Steve. And by the way, look at that head clit. Do you see it? It peeks out like it's some sort of an animal that lives underwater, but the underwater is this region here, and it has to breathe. So it comes up and it breaches, and it just comes up just like a manatee. Do they breathe? I guess they do. A dolphin, okay, a killer whale, and it soaks in the oxygen, just a blowhole right there, just, and it descends back into his brain. Mm-hmm. Oh, the maximum number of people. Oh, this is a moral dilemma, is it? So, in other words, shutting down the freedom of speech for some is okay and justified because, in the end, more people will get free speech. What? So, the 2 people, Richard Spencer, Milo Yiannopoulos, who he mentioned, who are in total favor of freedom of speech, don't have a single issue with it, are not trying to deplatform or shut down anybody. If we shut down them, that will help free speech? How? Steve, how do you lie to yourself in this fashion? That is fucking bizarre. You are incorrect. And this reminds me of hey, what if you could kill Hitler as a baby? If you kill Hitler as a baby, there's a good chance that World War II doesn't go the same way it would have, and you're going to save people's lives. So in other words, let's kill. I'm against killing. In the theory of being against killing, in principle, that's a good theory. In practice, it's not so perfect. Sometimes you got to kill people for the greater good. And who knows what the greater good is? Steve does. So if you're against killing, you might need to justify killing sometimes. Now, that happens to be true, but not in this example if you apply it to the freedom of speech. Because the freedom of speech is the freedom of speech. There's nothing more to it. Shutting down speakers is not helping the freedom of speech, Steve.
In our society, able to participate in political
Steve is in favor of political
speech
that gets recognized
and valued.
And he's so in favor of that he's going to shut down
to see this happen
political speech and disable it from being recognized or valued. Okay, yes. Let's trans, Native Americans, the gays, the people of color, historically disenfranchised. Oh my God, I want to punt him in his goddamn camel toe. Historically ignored and silenced. Oh, you're against silencing? Wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. Now it makes sense. You're against silencing of black people. I got it. Right. White guilt. Party of one. Erased. Like what? Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movie The Eraser, starring what's her name? Vanessa Williams? Terrible movie.
Whose contribution?
Okay. So wait a minute. We're supposed to value ideas that have historically not been valued? Why?
And ideas and voices have not been valued.
First of all, I disagree with that premise. But how about this? Instead of, look, as we go into the future, let's decide whether or not the ideas of all people, anybody, whatever color, should be valued based off whether or not they are valuable. Now, here's what I'm proposing. For us to determine whether or not they have value, let's let them speak. Brilliant, eh? So let's let all people's, and I know that you're super duper into the people of color and the trans and the disenfranchised and all those, childlike infants who are victims and they can't speak for themselves, Steve. We need you fucking gutter trash, to speak on their behalf. Yes, let's be paternalistic to them and let's let them speak, and then let's determine if they have anything of value to say. How about that? Just like the people who went to Spencer. And by the way, I just listened to Spencer's speech. I'm glad I could hear it. I'm glad he didn't get shut down. I watched the speech. I thought he had some things that were good to say, many things that were retarded. And I spoke for like 2 hours about it. And I got to determine, not Steve, not a toilet cleaner from Maryland. No, a college-educated, world-traveling guy with a huge cock. I got to decide for myself. Jesus, can you imagine that? Imagine the cognitive independence of that. Yes, Steve, freedom. Were you not listening to Mel Gibson when he screamed it? Oh, God, swallow again. Swallow again. Ew.
Then I've been valued.
Oh, okay. Choosing to defend neo-Nazis. Okay, so now we've pushed the envelope, and it's a nice blurring of the lines there. So now Richard Spencer and Milo Yiannopoulos are neo-Nazis. Funny, the people he finds to be awful, he's just, in a secret, sneaky little way, now they're neo-Nazis. Newsflash, they are not neo-Nazis. And by the way, neo-Nazis should be able to speak. So even if you want to take the most extreme position possible, yes, let them speak. Just like the KKK was allowed to march, and should be. That's the greater point. Do you see that? He neo-Nazis directly to those two guys. It's so desperate. This man desperately wants to live in the 40s.
When they are protested.
It's not their microphones. It's not their microphones, and it's not their right to do so. In fact, they are breaking the law and should be put in jail. And the Berkeley police are fucking pussies for not putting them in jail. And they should be attacked back. If you come to start violence and then violence is brought back upon you, then that is justified. Okay, this makes sense, and if that needs to be explained to anybody out there, I pity the fool. So this is why I will be rooting for the side that is bashing Antifa. When they come there wearing masks, which is already as ominous as can be, they have weapons. They are there explicitly to cause violence, property damage, and not just property, human beings. They are there to hurt people. Then they should be treated as a terrorist group, and they should be dealt with by the cops. But if not the cops, I will support anybody with a stick. And it should be self-defense. Do not throw the first punch. Which this guy, don't start talking about punching, because Steve's policy on punching, here's my policy, don't punch. Here's Steve's policy, punch. Okay, just understand where people are on the spectrum of authoritarianism versus liberty. I believe in freedom. Steve believes in a dictatorship where Steve runs the show. Oh, fucking hell. Steve, you are currently spreading your hatred and intolerance.
Stages
and you have the right to do so because guys like Spencer and Milo are not trying to shut you down. Okay, if you believe in freedom of speech, you should be on the side of the protesters of freedom of speech.
If you believe in freedom of speech, you should be on the side of the protesters.
Literally is theater of the absurd. The other day in Berkeley, when they had those protests, the reason for the rally was a pro-free speech rally. And that was protested. Now, if you're protesting a free speech rally, guess what you are? You're against free speech. No, they are Americans. Well, Milo isn't, but he's in America, so he has the right to speak. This is how we run things here. So they're not people they're just citizens. Yeah, because you have cognitive dissonance, because you have an impossible task, Steve.
And others like that.
And nice moisture on your lips. Are your lips always lubricated? Is that normal? That is spittle. It's just like disgusting. Yeah, never a perfect system. So, yeah, it's a little bit complicated. So forget your freedom. Forget your basic rights as an American citizen. Yeah. Oh man, system. Steve, that was quick, wasn't it? Guess what else isn't simple? And guess what else is complicated? Everything. Everything, Steve. So, nice try. Nice intellectual laziness there, Steve. Yeah, no, Steve. You can make that choice for yourself. We know that you put your fingers in your ears,
to listen to
your
and platform,
head
and
clits,
best to ignore.
And you drown everything out. Everybody else is going to decide what they should and should not listen to. Thanks. Now go back to cleaning the shitty toilet with your boyfriend Deke.
But we can at least decide amongst ourselves.
Okay, so
the principle
what? It's again this nonsensical point. Shutting down people's freedom of speech to speak at universities has no bearing on the greater freedom of speech. No, all it is you doing -2. However many people had the freedom of speech before you started these protests, just -2 from that. Minus Richard Spencer and Milo and whoever else you idiots decide to protest. That's all that's being achieved. You are not combating guys who are against the freedom of speech. Now, if that were the case, you might have a point. So in other words, Steve, if you gave a lecture and you were invited to a college to speak and somebody protested that, I would actually side with that in a sense. I actually wouldn't because I'm pro freedom of speech, but by your logic, it would make sense because you are against the freedom of speech. So shutting you down and this hideous idea down is for the greater good of freedom of speech. But even I would not let that change my principled stance on the goddamn simple, basic issue of everybody gets a right to speak. You fucking moron. Oh my God. It's not even perfect, Steve. It's just rudimentary. This is so easy. It's not even a close call or a gray zone issue. It's not even close, Steve. You have no right to tell them that they cannot talk. Sorry. Okay, the maximum freedom of speech is you not shutting down people's speeches. That's the maximum. Just sit down, shut up, go home.
Freedom of speech.
Oh, yes. Oh, really? Oh, really? So what's the issue? What have you been talking about this whole time? If they legally have the right, and by the way, that's not what they're doing, and they would tell you that's not what they're doing, and you don't even know. Do you even listen to their speeches? No, you write them off. This is a guy who people make videos about him. He doesn't even watch the videos, but he talks ill of them. Oh, he's seen enough. What are you talking, Steve? Yes, they are. Milo was on Real Time with Bill Maher.
Practically speaking,
like
are
this
not
month.
Invited on prominent radio or TV shows.
Richard Spencer went to Auburn University. Yeah, he was on Joe Rogan. YouTube channels, yeah, he has hundreds of thousands of views on his YouTube channel. And Richard Spencer has been article after article written on the guy. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Yes, they are
not given lucrative.
How many things can you say that are wrong consecutively? This is amazing.
Invited to speak on stage at colleges and universities. And generally speaking, find it difficult.
You just described yourself. You have a very difficult time amplifying your message because you are surrounded in your little tiny ignorant bubble of intolerance and hate, Steve. That's what you are. And you're expressing a jealous thought. You are not being invited to colleges. You do not have a best-selling book. You are not on prominent TV shows. That's you, Steve. Richard Spencer and definitely Milo Yiannopoulos, they are the exact opposite of you. Successful with an audience and some talent and the ability to speak. Milo more than Spencer. And how are you even lumping Milo and Spencer together? Like, it's such a weird association. God.
That sounds pretty damn good to me.
Yeah, eat shit and die, Steve. You fucking idiot. All right. Well.
How about you?
Had to get that off my chest. Christ almighty. Poor Master Tracy. There's the officer. If he's good enough to carry a gun, he's good enough to carry a wrench. How much Patreon does Steve earn? I think it's $1,000 a month. Something like that. Yeah, please do, Raph. If you do that, I'll critique it. I'll analyze it. Devin, that's an interesting analogy about Trump being a murder weapon, ominously enough. Steve Bannon described it as a blunt weapon in the past interview. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's like taking a sledgehammer to a game of Jenga. And it's like, wait, what do we... But the game of Jenga is your fucking society and your democracy and the future of humanity. So, crazy lag. Yeah, well. It's lagging. Wait, so is it lagging? Oh, man, I don't know what's going on. I got to check the settings. Devin, do you think the Shives mildew hat and pen is in the collar combo is a cool fashion statement? LOL. It is amazing. It really is amazing. He's the only person on YouTube that does that. And here's the tie-in. He thinks it's a uniform. He thinks it's a costume, as in a superhero. Like, he's that much of a dork. Okay, this is a guy who does stuffed animals. He might have a new video. I'm going to check this because he was talking about it. He was hyping it up. He's got a new stuffed animal video. I mean, look at this guy's content. 5 harmful things about the Dukes of Hazzard. It's going to be racist. He's going to talk about how they're racist. Watch this. He has a problem with the Confederate flag from the Dukes of Hazzard. Come on, Steve. Get us to the Confederate flag. There were no black people on the show and his Confederate flag. What else? What other harmful things? I mean, how many ways can you say fuck whites? Let's see. Harmful things. He might do something light, like it's not good to get into your car by sliding over the hood of the car. Come on. Do you see the renegade hairs just fling, wee, yeah, ooh, just disgusting.
Boys might not have meant any harm, but unfortunately, intention.
I just feel like a gust of wind could knock this guy down. Just seriously. A butterfly flapping its wings too close to this guy.
Here are 5 harmful things.
I mean, what on earth would inspire you to make this video? Okay, so... Shit. What is this going to be?
Dukes of Hazzard.
Steve, I told you, the Confederate image. I mean, it's so fucking predictable and stupid. Steve, unbelievable.
Number 1, it prominently
Confederate imagery. Great, Steve. Are you against racism, Steve? Are you against slavery? Oh, shit.
Confederate imagery Even more than John Schneider and Tom Wopat or Catherine Bach and her denim cutoffs, the star of the Dukes of Hazzard was the Duke's 1969
There it is,
Dodge
slavery.
Charger,
37 seconds in, and he mentioned slavery.
General Lee with a Confederate flag.
It must give him
the flag of
a
the army that
satisfaction
fought to defend
to get out in
slavery
public and be like,
American
I don't
Civil
like
War.
slavery. 2017, y'all, and I'm circling back on this one. I'm going to bring it up because I don't think you're clear on whether or not I'm in favor of slavery or not. I'm here to tell you I'm not. And this Confederate flag, I know it doesn't technically mean slavery, but it is ominous. It does, those Southern boys. Oh, terrible, Steve. Yeah.
Painted on the roof.
So why are we talking about it? Times have changed. People have grown. We're fully aware that the Confederate flag is something to be frowned upon.
For the most
and
part,
yep, the Civil War is over, and we're all against slavery, Steve. But thanks for you virtue signaling about it, Steve, and telling us why you're against it. Oh, right, romanticized South, right? Because the South of the Dukes of Hazzard, and now he's going to compare that to the South of slavery.
Just the beginning.
Oh, Jim Crow. Jim Crow will be mentioned within the next 30 seconds. That's my. Anybody want to take a bet on that?
Romanticized South.
Say Jim Crow.
It's easy to see why the Dukes of Hazzard was so popular. It's an affectionate celebration of the American South and its cherished
15 seconds left to say Jim Crow,
which
please.
is affable and non-threatening enough for Yankees to enjoy too. In the show, there is no injustice that can't be overcome by a fast car and a bit of farm boy ingenuity. The local authorities are corrupt, but they're also easily thwarted.
Oh, fuck. Well, racism
brought
up, not
most
Jim Crow.
everybody is
yes,
dirt
racism,
poor,
Steve.
yet
You're against
still
racism.
lead
Okay, yeah.
lives
Were
of
these guys
breathless
racist? Did they say racist shit on the show?
No racism to speak
not
of.
really. So what's your point? Yes, they had characters on the TV show, and the show was romanticized? No, it was just, what do you want it to be, Steve? This show is not set in the 1830s, and it's not just some impoverished, let's set the show during the Great Depression. Jesus Christ. There's other things at play on a TV show. It's a TV show. It's not a fucking documentary about slavery, you idiot. Did I not say that? Did I not? Yes, Steve, the show, it wasn't about the black South. It was about the white South, because you know what? There are more whites in the South than blacks.
Black folks.
And it was made by whites, and I guess for whites, Steve. I don't know. I mean, don't you think that makes sense financially? Or should we cater to the black market? Oh, should it be affirmative action, Steve? Jesus Christ. So my first two guesses are dead on the money. Uh-huh. There it is. Fuck whites.
To speak of. Number 3, it whitewashed
the
Deep South.
How dare they? Oh, Seinfeld, you're so
American
racist.
Network television shows in the 1970s and 80s to
you know
feature
what? There were no black
people
people
black performers
on Scooby-Doo. That's why they brought in the Harlem Globetrotters.
That lack of
but they were only
diversity
guests,
is particularly glaring.
So racism, it's everywhere, guys. Fuck whites. Less whites is better, I think. Don't you, Steve? I mean, seriously. Yeah, this Luke Cage show on Netflix. A lot of blacks. Yeah, it's an uncomfortable amount of blacks in that show.
On his show,
and
set in a region of the country with.
Here's 5 harmful things about Luke Cage. It romanticizes the life in the streets of New York City. It's not all dandy. I think there's more rape and violence than they're really showing. And, some black power stuff going on there. And I don't think it's very cool to just, tacitly approve black power movements. That's fucked up. And there's not a lot of white people. It's been blackwashed. That entire show, blackwashed. Yeah, this is terrible. Oh, you're such a cunt. Steve, you're a cunt.
With a long history of sometimes violent racial inequality and centered on a pair of heroic white country boys.
Oh, okay, not good enough. The token's not good enough, right? Okay, Steve.
The problem wasn't
there's no pleasing you, man. Okay, we are sorry for slavery.
Tried to
we,
compensate
the people
by
that
casting
never
black
were in favor
guest
of slavery.
stars.
Oh. Oh, scarcity. More blacks, please. Steve, why don't you go over to BET? You can find a bunch of blacks there. Or how about World Star Hip Hop? Yeah, don't watch a lot of those videos, though, because you might be exposed to a different brand of black people. They're not going to be sheriffs, okay? Yeah, and you know, Kit from the Knight Rider, that car is black, which, I don't know, that has some racial implications there. I think Kit should have been white. Can we get a paint job?
Is a little tough to just shrug off.
What? Oh my God. No, it didn't, Steve. The show was harmless. It wasn't harmful, it was harmless. And you have ran out of things to talk about years ago, my man.
Right-wing anti-government narratives.
Oh, it's white supremacy now.
In the late 70s and early 80s, the Republican Party was shifting
Dukes
its
of Hazzard
message
is white supremacy. Okay, it's official. This man's crazy. Look at that face. Would you trust that face? Would you fuck that face? Would you have that face over for dinner? I mean, how could it not be white supremacy? Look, you got 4 whites in a car. Do the math, people. It's white supremacy through and through.
Resentment of the government, though it almost certainly wasn't intentional.
Jesus. Well, it's amazing how I watched the Dukes of Hazzard and I turned out to be a lefty liberal Democrat. How did that happen? I guess the propaganda, the devious subliminal messaging of conservative talking points just sailed over my head, Steve. Yeah, and G.I. Joe is a bunch of libertarian messaging too, so fuck that show.
Government officials.
This is a before and after. This is Steve in like 5 years.
Rugged individualism. In the pilot episode, Bo tells his girlfriend that Uncle Jesse would rather
No, it didn't. No, it didn't, Steve.
Starve than accept government assistance.
So here 5 harmful things about the Dukes of Hazzard. Let me sum it up.
Number 5.
Racism. I'm Steve Shives. I'm against racism and slavery and the Confederate flag. Bye-bye.
You won't find...
Yeah, don't have pride in the South. No, the South is only about slavery. I mean, I don't. Yeah, it's like 1% of the people own slaves. But and forget the modern day. Don't do a poll of modern day Southern people or Southern people during the filming of this show. Ask them if they're in favor of slavery. Let's not take on board the results of what that poll would have been. No. Just assume that they're all slaveholders. Yeah. Right. It's hate. If you're from the South and you're white, then fuck you. You're a hateful slave owner. Period. End of story. Shives has spoken.
The same heritage, not hate line of horseshit that people still try to sell.
Oh, yes. Steve, you notice it everywhere. I mean, it's just all around us. Today. It's like what Anita Sarkeesian said. It's everything is sexist. Everything is racist. You've got to point it out everywhere. Good job, Steve. Oh, God. Oh, God. Okay, imagine. Now, what he should do is cut to an image of Black Power, a Black Fist right now.
The roof of the Duke's
or the Black Panthers. Or Black Lives Matter. Do that, Steve. Instead, he's not. He's going to do a burning crucifix or the KKK. Or a neo-Nazi. He's going to put a Nazi symbol up here. Watch. Thank you. White pride. White pride, Iron Cross, white pride. Steve, the Confederate flag is not a white pride flag. Okay, so there's that little minor difference in this attempted comparison. Like, I don't even know what you're trying to do here. This is a graphical form of a straw man. Yeah, all the good whites, right, Steve? Like the noble, progressive whites, the rad ones. You, Steve.
We'd recognize the problem immediately. Well, most of us would, anyway.
No, what? Yes, it is different, and it's not somehow. It's in all ways different, Steve.
But we view this as different.
No, Steve,
somehow.
It's part of the history of our nation, and the locals down there. It is nostalgia. It is the flag, because the banner under which they do have tribalism. And no, they're not in favor of slavery, Steve. Both things can be true. Fucking hell, you're a simpleton. Oh, it wasn't? Oh, really? If it were, Steve, I know where you would stand on that. Do you know where your audiences would stand? I mean, is anybody in favor of that, Steve?
It wasn't
anybody? Are you talking to literally nobody right now? Yes, you are. And has that pimple on your forehead ever gone away? The bridge of your nose? The thing is stubborn. Please put some cream on it. Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Steve, somehow we're at the end of your video now, and I'm supposed to believe that these two characters are white pride
just good old
racist
boys.
Klansmen?
Wouldn't
Steve,
change if they could.
You've presented no case for such a thing, and your inference that this is who they are is fucking crazy. Steve, shut up. It's okay to delete your channel. Look, my channel's gone. I've moved on. Steve, I'm on YouTube now, so technically I have not. But Steve, you don't have to talk. You can stop talking. That's good. Oh, God. The drama of it. Looking back at the green screen. Steve, yeah, the effect of it was beautiful. And you made it come to life in post.
The hardest part
just
is picking
well
only 5.
crafted. A+, gold star for you, Steve. No. Dislike.
Hey folks, hope you found this one worthwhile. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And also, please consider helping me to make more videos like this one by supporting this channel through Patreon.
There it
you can
is.
go to patreon.com/Steve Shives to become a patron. Thanks for watching.
Oh, as fuck. Please never leave us, Devin. Devin, we haven't moved on either. Someone needs to tell him that Shives' audio is 20 seconds behind the video. I don't know why that is happening. I literally don't. Sorry. Yeah, well, somebody send me an email, because I don't know why it's happening. This is a normal stream, not doing anything different. Maybe I should put a longer delay on there. I don't know. I got Shives on it, riff. I got 5 on it. Song, really good stuff, my guy. Thank you, Devin. Do you think Steve really believes his shit, or is he just capitulating to his wife's crazy ideology? He's drank the Kool-Aid, and he's so incestuous with it, so he hangs around with people who are more flamingly weak and virtue signaling. So it's like backward evolution. You try to one up each other and you declare your virtue even more. So how many times did he say that he's against racism or slavery? I mean, it's to the point where he's digging through TV shows from the 70s trying to retroactively virtue signal off shit that doesn't even exist. Like the Confederate flag on the car is a symbol of white pride. It's just so dumb. Your voice was not in sync with the video. Yes. Yes, I've seen Slumdog Millionaire. Everybody did it. Won Best Picture. You love it. You just saw it. Okay, yeah. It's a good movie. Correct. Made by, what is it, Scotsman? White guy. So that's colonial cinematography. Cinematic colonialism right there. Do you think Shives likes getting comments from you? No. He hates all dissent. Especially when the dissent is vastly superior to what he's saying. And he hates it. Yeah, crazy. Devin, you think Sargon loves Brexit more than his own son? I'm worried Sargon... Yeah, he's weird and demented. His thoughts on Brexit and Frexit are just... And Trump, he's quite honestly really embarrassingly misinformed and painfully wrong. Just awkwardly wrong. Snorgon of Borkad. Devin, did your grandfather and your girlfriend's grandfather both fight in World War II? Do you think they ever faced off on the battlefield? My grandfather, what was he up to? No, he was operating a radio station in South Africa during the war. Yeah, I think he was too old for the war anyway, but yeah, sort of missed that. And my girlfriend's grandfather just died, and he was a Nazi, and he got shot in the arm during one of the battles. Movie Philadelphia. At the time it was important just to put the gay issue forward and the AIDS issue. AIDS was a hot topic, and it was a lot of homophobia surrounding AIDS, and so it was a bad little era there. So for Tom Hanks to staple his face onto that movement, and Denzel. Was it Denzel? Yeah, Denzel and was it Antonio Banderas, was it? Devin, I was listening to Susie and the Banshees. Arabian Nights today and decided to read the lyrics. It's like the original version of Arabian Nights you showed us a while back. Oh, is it? Yeah. I feel like that they've put out a good song that I like. I'm not sure if it's Arabian Nights, but I think it's a different one. Debate Sargon. I had a 3-hour conversation with Sargon a couple weeks ago, but it was in private. Devin, do you think power has gone to Izzy's head? Yeah, she's drunk off power. But it's not the power of the wrench. It's the power of the pussy. And this is a process that most girls go through. She's having a warped experience of it. Well, for her, it's normal because she lives in the age of the internet. But if she didn't have the internet, she would be on a different path, different trajectory, because she goes to an all-girls school. And so she would be much more sheltered. And she'd come home and watch shows and sort of have crushes on, whatever poster boy there is, One Direction, whatever. But she wouldn't be in contact with like grown-ass men and like being lusted after and followed and sort of interacted with. And so she is now a commodity where people know her, want to hear what she has got to say. And for a youngster, I mean, you remember being a teenager, nobody gives a shit about what you have to say or who you are, including your parents, which is why people tend to rebel. Be like, oh, fuck you, mom, dad, I'm going to go out and smoke with my cool friends. And I found somebody who wants to stick their tongue into my tongue hole, and it's hot as fuck, and we are people too, and screw you and your chores, dad. So yeah, she's doing a different thing. I thought you were in favor of Brexit. No, I didn't care enough to think about it, but I think there are arguments on both sides, and I think it boils down to boring economic talk. And I think there was some hysteria with the immigration stuff, but I can understand it. And when you see the influx of people coming from Calais and coming from the Middle East and other places, England has problems that are, forget Brexit. Even if they build a wall around England, they already have a million problems. And that's not, hey, problem B. It's just the reality of the situation. So it's nice to think that something like Brexit is going to help all that. It's not. It's not. They're fucked either way. Do you believe Shives actually believes his crap? He never wants to debate anyone as though he knows that would be no leg to stand on. Yeah, he doesn't want it. He doesn't want it. But this goes down to his inherent weakness. If he actually thought his ideas were superior, he would do something like this. He would actually go on and, like, for example, like I go into a video and I don't care. Like I've debated people in the past. It's not my thing, but I will watch a video not knowing what the person's going to say. I have not thought this through. If Steve just presented arguments that were superior to mine, hold on, let me laugh at that. You would have seen it in real time. You would have seen me falter and fail to produce convincing arguments. He would have said a point, and I'd be like, oh shit, Steve, you just got me. Damn it, checkmate. Okay, that is not happening, and I'm so confident that will never happen that I do live stream. I do it live, people. I would pay to see AIU and Sargon debate. About what? Fucking hell. Here's the difference. I've been to England hundreds of times. He's never been to America. Okay? He is a stagnant pool of water. Devin, how do you feel about European housing being so much smaller than American housing? There's less land mass, and they have a longer history, and so everything's been accounted for and built in such a manner that everything's pressed up against each other, kind of like San Francisco. So yeah, there's just historical reasons for that, but it is fascinating. I took a class in the history of cities and how and why cities get to how they are. I think it was the history of Los Angeles, and it's like urban planning and all that. There's a lot of forethought, and there's reasons why cities are mapped out and operate the way they do. Would you do paid speech in a college? Sure, so long as people didn't make eye contact, and yeah, why not? Can you psychoanalyze Steve Shives? Every time I talked about him, I'm psychoanalyzing. Batman Returns. Oh, okay. Devin, here's some lyrics. Veiled behind screens kept as your baby machine, whilst you conquer more orifices of boys, goats, and things. Imagine that on the radio today. Yeah, a little bit. You probably have to block some of that out. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Yep. When you're old and withered, you won't care. Sargon picks the lowest hanging fruit. Yeah, Sargon is 98% accent and 2% of a still image that he didn't even paint. Devin, how was the 3-hour private chat you had with Sargon? It was fine. Yeah, it was good. I was talking to him about my channel and shit, and yeah, it was. We talked about politics and a bunch of shit. It was productive. He's a nice guy. Devin, can you give more details about when you had a girl have an abortion. Uh-oh. See, Raphael's starting to get his dick wet, so now this is a concern of his. Yeah, she was my girlfriend. She got pregnant, and I said, if you don't kill that thing, I'm going to stomp your friggin' guts until they're spread out across the floor. And so she was like, okay. No, she was like, yeah, okay, let's get an abortion. She later moved on. She graduated from me and got married and had a kid. So enjoy my sloppy seconds, in other words. I'd rather take a pill that regenerates cells. Oh, that sounds like some Eternal Life fan stuff. Devin, the EU is a sinking ship heading for the rocks, and who cares? The ease of travel between the nations is good. The stability of unity is also good. The having the same currency is good. As for everything else is boring trade agreements and economic issues that will not concern you, should not concern you, and good luck to them. I mean, just tell your government leaders to do what they think is best. And there's a lot of sense to joining forces and making some of the regulations between those nations less strict. So that's a boring conversation. Devin says, do it or splat. Yep. When will you live stream on your website? Well, this is a live stream that I could put on the website once it's done. I don't want to put it up on Tracy Remix, and all my other channels have been disabled from streaming. So I might come up with another way to do it where I can actually not be censored. That'd be fun. Otherwise, this is the easiest and cheapest way to do it now. Devin, do you ever want kids? No, I talked to her about my girlfriend. She's not really thrilled on the idea, and I don't know why. It's weird. Yeah. But her parents got split up, and oh yeah. Oh, do you want to do the gamer loser? Devin, that gamer loser had an unknown son with his ex who died at birth. I saw that. You should watch the video. I did watch that. He had an ex who called him up like 20 years later, 10, 15 years later, 10, I think, and said, oh, by the way, we had a kid and it died. And he was crying. He was like, I lost a son. It was the most retarded way to take it. First of all, to do a video about it, crying about it, like, imagine if you got called and somebody said, you got me pregnant 10 years ago. It was a son. It died during childbirth. You think you'd be beating yourself up over that? Give me a break. That's fucking pathetic. Many women get emotionally scarred from having an abortion. So? So? I get scarred from going to the dentist and move along. Shit. You know what else is emotionally scarring? Raising a child for the rest of your life that you didn't want. Yeah, Ironheart Gaming. I've got a son. It's pretty awesome. Should I have kids? Yeah, it's maybe. Well, see, I think the lag on this is too bad. I'm gonna bring this one to an end, and we'll save the Ironheart Gaming for next time.